Welcome to the Answers for Elders radio show. Meet the trusted experts who will give you straight answers and will help guide you on the path of later life care. Now, here's your host, founder, caregiver, and CEO, Suzanne Newman.
And welcome back, everyone, to Answers for Elders Radio Network, part of the Senior Resource Network. And we are here with the content manager of seniorresource.com, Jennifer Otto, who I work with now every day. And for those of you that have, just not known what the big announcement is for Answers for Elders, we are headed into so many amazing things that are happening. It's all, a lot of it because of our wonderful partnership with seniorresource.com. And Jen and I, we talk regularly, we converse, we dialogue, we talk about, what's most important as things change in the climate, with different, legalities or different, it's a new year, there's new tax rules, there's all kinds of things that go into play every year. And Jennifer, you've been so helpful and also very, it's been very good for me to feel being a part of a team again. And that's been kind of interesting for me because I've been, kind of a lone wolf for a long time. Mike and I, who's my production director, we've kind of just tried to, do this on our own as much as we could. And, but, we had this foundation of the radio show. And certainly when I heard the mission for Senior Resource, and I went, I'm on board. And this is a third, again, to all of our listeners, Senior Resource Network is a third genre of Salem media now. They've always been conservative and Christian, and now the third is going to be seniors. And so it's kind of
retirement planning.
Seniors and retirement planning.
Yes.
And so thank you for that clarification, because I think one of the things that's so valuable in this is that so many of us that as we're in our 50s and we're looking at, okay, I probably have another 15 years, 10 years of my career. What do I do? How do I make sure that I'm set up for retirement? How do I make decisions on behalf of a loved one? What are my responsibilities if I have to deal with, being a power of attorney, all the different responsibilities that I may have as an adult child, a family caregiver. And then the other thing is how many of us are put in a situation at the end of our lives or at somebody's life, like I was, where you have to make some critical decisions on end of life.
And those are all questions that we try very hard to not necessarily answer, but guide you through.
Correct. Right. And I think understanding is having those conversations done up front. And how do you approach those conversations? How do you sit down with a loved one or even a spouse and say, what are your wishes? If anything ever happened to you, I want to advocate for you. And I think that's the other thing, I use the word advocacy a lot because I really believe that, honoring someone to being their power of attorney doesn't necessarily mean that their values are going to be the same as yours.
Right.
And so those are all scenarios that we we try very hard to honor and just take the time with each other to say it's okay that you guys have separate values, but when you have that responsibility of a power of attorney or something like that, it's really important that you know what those wishes are, because it's not your life, it's theirs. And that's the key. I think that is something. So Jennifer, you obviously have been in the ground floor of the planning of Senior Resource. If you had a magic wand, and I'm just going to throw it out there, based on all the conversations that you've heard, where do you see Senior Resources, the Senior Resource Network, going in, like, say, the next 5 years?
Oh, goodness.
I won't hold you to anything. I'm just saying that
are we talking just podcasting or as a whole? Because
as a whole,
the sky is the limit. We already have, you being one of them, we already have a couple great authors who are going to be partnering with us at some point to get some books out. We already have one that can be purchased by Miss Toni King from Medicare Moments. She has the Medicare Survival Guide, and then you'll be coming out with one in the near future too. I see it as a whole just booming in the future. I see our books, our podcasters, our experts, more free resources, more directories. The sky is really the limit.
Well, and I also see in the future of more caregiver support. I think there's a lot of people, whether you're caring for a spouse or a loved one, especially after the pandemic, there's a lot of people that are still dealing with long COVID symptoms that, affected their heart or different things like that later in life, after they had COVID. And so making sure that we have resources out there. I also see, great, opportunities for webinars and seminars and classes and support groups and all.
This is stuff we've been talking about, and it's like there's just so much there that I forget to even say it. So all that too.
So the idea, obviously, with the Senior Resource Network is bringing together the best of the best to share their knowledge, their advice, their guidance, and really to allow you as a listener to know what's right for your loved one. Nobody knows what's right for your loved one more than you. Right. And if they can't speak for themselves, or they're you need to intervene, it's important that you feel good about the decisions you're making. I remember, Jen, when I was taking care of my mom before I got into this world, I would lay awake at night because I had made a really life-changing decision on behalf of my mother. And I would second guess it constantly because I didn't feel like I had all the resources that I needed to make a quick decision. There wasn't a podcast I could go listen to on power of attorney. There wasn't a, and to this day, when I think about all the anxiety that I felt when I was a family caregiver, a lot of it was because I didn't know what I didn't know. And I was afraid something was going to come out of the woodwork that I didn't address. And, I made so many mistakes as a result, because I didn't have all the facts. And I always felt pressured because everybody wants to sell you something, right?
Right.
And,
right.
They either want to sell you into their community, or they want to, give you, want to list your house, and they're trying to push you here, or all the different types of scenarios that go on. And yet sometimes I felt like I was a deer in the headlights because I didn't have all the information. And that is one of the reasons why I think, that fuels me. My own story, so many of the things that I went through as a family caregiver was just so overwhelming. I was overwhelmed. And, I always felt like, as my own world came crashing down around me, at a very difficult time of life, it's like I was looking for a lifeline that didn't exist, and I didn't even know how to ask for it because I was too thick in it. And I think that's where a lot of families are. They're in that scenario of, how do I make these decisions moving forward? And how do I make sure that I'm acting in the best way for my loved one? And I think that's really what we hope to do, is give people an opportunity to know what things are like, understand a lot of the lingo that goes on. There's a lot of acronyms, and I constantly in podcasts, somebody will say something about ADLs, and I'll say, and that means activities of daily living.
Right. Because if you're not in the field, you don't know.
No, you don't know. So those are some things I think that are really important, that we take the time to make you guys that are listening to us give you the tools that you need to say, I understand what a CCRC is now. I understand the difference between independent and assisted and skilled nursing and home care. I understand what aging in place is. I understand what what needs to be done in a bathroom. What are fall risks? How do I keep, a loved one safe if they're still living at home? And I think that's the key of looking in the future is we're going to be addressing all of these issues for you, and it's coming together pretty darn quickly. I think so, right?
Right. And I mean, and again, back to the mission, we're educating and empowering. If we can get you all that information, all those tools that say you didn't have access to when you needed it, if we can bring families, retirees, what have you, all of those resources, then you can feel empowered to make the decisions that you'll need to make later in life, or that you are in the middle of making right now.
Yes. And I just love that. And so, I know we're just wrapping up. And what I want to say to you is, again, I'm so grateful for being a part of the Senior Resource Network. Answers for Elders is going to have another big announcement coming soon about our radio show. And so that's coming up very soon. But it's thanks to you, Jennifer, and the whole Salem Media management team. We've been so lucky, and I want to give a special kudo amount of thanks to the Salem Media Seattle team out there who has been promoting Answers for Elders now in our 7th year, been producing our program. And we're just very, very honored and grateful. And I just want to say thank you to all of you for embracing us, because it's been a really fun ride.
Well, and Senior Resource is more than blessed to have you guys on board with us. So,
well, that's good. We're glad to hear that. And so to each and every one of you, it is the end of our hour. And Jen, thank you so much for being with us. And
thank you.
And for this week, remember, it's a new year. Think about what you can do. What's the theme for this year? If you're taking care of a loved one, how can you best step up and be a little kinder, a little wiser, and take better care of yourself? And until next week, everyone, be good to each other. We at Answers for Elders thank you for listening. Did you know that you can discover hundreds of podcasts in our library on senior care? So visit our website and discover our decision guides that will help you also navigate decision making. Find us at answersforelders.com.